And tonight I'm broadcasting from Sedona. Maybe locating ships. Ladies, do you see anything visually in the sky right now?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
Okay. So here with the psionics, you have an infrared data coming in, and on the fly it translates it to color. So what you're looking for on the psionics. So Diana, let me ask you, in the ET phenomena, how do you discern for yourself whether it could be an actual physical ship with...
I overseer alien that had projected his face very large, and obviously that was more metaphysical or astral. But then
So do you think it's both?
we start to get hits right away that they're aware of us. And so, like last time when we did our opening prayer, remember that face that I saw that came in and watched over us all night? It was huge, and it was neutral. It wasn't really full of light, and it was not negative. It was neutral. It was just observing and interested in what we were doing. Well, it was not going to, kind of like one of those overseers, I guess.
Do you think it manifested from an actual craft, or was it a spirit body that maybe might be around here?
Not a spirit body in terms of how we think of spirit bodies, like not on the earthly plane. It was definitely projected from a large, very, very large sky.
Where they have been in other dimensions or past lives. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually more common than you might think. I've come across that quite a bit, receiving sessions from my fellow students constantly for like a year. And yeah, there's a lot of extraterrestrial lives that come through.
Can you think of a specific example that comes to mind as far as how that translates to their life today and how they may have been previously?
Just speaking on my own experience, my understanding is that I'm kind of boots on the ground for, I don't know who, I think it was Andromedan, but of course I don't really know that for sure. But that was my impression when I had that session, and I saw myself on a ship. There was a lab, and there was all these plants, like in beakers kind of, and everybody on that ship was really excited because all of a sudden, like, the plant life here, or what they said they were doing in the feeding the new earth with the plant life, it's really high vibration, and that it was finally working, and they were just super excited. And I've always just been really, really drawn to plants, and that's part of my calling. And it didn't seem there was a whole lot I needed to do about it other than just being here. You know, I know I'm a starseed. That's just incredible. I mean, it's really, it gave me purpose in my life, because like a lot of other starseeds, I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't know what I was doing here. I knew I had a greater purpose, but I didn't know what it was until I started doing the past life regressions. Yeah, that's a nice one.
Yeah, see that one moving?
Yeah.
Do you see?
Come
up, Diana.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. There was light right behind it, too.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Right. Yeah, to kind of build off what you were saying about the plants, you know, me living on the Navajo reservation, the feet, or the Bigfoot, is just part of the landscape. It's not anything unusual on the reservation. And stories have been put out that, this is from different sources, but he's actually from Mars, and he came here as a botanist to do gathering of plants. And then specifically where I live, there's a ridge where Bigfoot walks, and there are a multitude of craft right above the sky. So there's that interaction there between a relationship between Bigfoot and certain alien civilizations there. But so thank you for that. Have you had personal
Natural or different types of it in Wisconsin. We actually got flanked by the woods, and some of my team went running after it. The next wooded, that's where the footsteps were. And then after that, we got flanked, and everyone screamed, and but they were playing with us all night.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, I'd like to invite you to the reservation sometime
Yeah.
and do a podcast there. The particular area, and Tina has been there a little bit, what your experiences were.
Yeah, the forest there is just super quiet. Like there's no birds. You don't hear really any sounds. It's eerily quiet. Like you're just in a almost like you're in a time bubble all to itself.
Right, it's a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I had some friends come out from Los Angeles, and we went up to Berlin Lake, and the experiment was, why don't we try a personal EEG? It's a band that you can buy, and if you achieve total silence, it brings you down to alpha wave. So we did all of that in like 1 in the morning, and as soon as we finished, Bigfoot started howling at us.
Oh wow.
Like, ooh, and he is drawn to gentleness, to kindness. If you have ill intent, or if you're there to try and hunt, he'll disappear. He's a very gentle entity.
Yeah.
So.
That's why I feel playful.
Playful,
Yeah.
right,
Playful and kind.
right. So Diana, what do you see your role in all the gifts you've acquired?
Gosh, I think it's just a good thing that I finally realized that I had them as an adult, because when I was growing up, it was just hard seeing ghosts walking around and having strange things in my surroundings all the time. A life path for me. I've been on it since the very beginning, and I think now, as I've been especially interested in waking people up and helping the collective through the times that we're living in. And spiritually speaking, around the time of COVID began the biggest spiritual attack I've ever seen. And I think it also coincides, it was purposeful and intentional and meant to wake us up, not torture us. But for those that are not waking up, it is torture. They're suffering. They're losing their jobs. They're losing their families. They're losing their houses. And people are feeling really lost. And it's really a time of spiritual growth and coming out of the matrix and learning to tap into higher realms and reminding ourselves, like, hey, we don't have to obey like the mundane, and how gifted we are and how purposeful we can be. So that's really important for me to help people understand about themselves and to find that hope again.
Oh, look at here.
Anybody?
3. Thank you.
So
Thank
can you talk about, say, your most dramatic that comes to mind, like you had mentioned?
Well, and a gentleman told me that he had an implant and he was really having some trouble with it and having it and didn't like them, but then they had another experience where they were reimplanted. So then I learned that there were so many belief systems that they're actually put in with, and that those needed to be healed within the individual as well. Victims of victimhood, victims of being taken, programs that would be associated with a normal person that had been abused, right, physically or by an adult, there, and can really increase the ability for them to hold more light in their vessel. They're able to gain more free will, have a reabduction experience or another implant experience.
I see. Is there bloodlines involved? Is there?
I do see that, and I don't want to share. And so that was always a concern, that I wanted to protect my daughter. I can't validate this, but in my experience, it has been true. I was told when I was still pregnant with my daughter, if she wanted to have the experience, if she had had that contract. And so I, made a very hard line, drew a hard line, no, until her coming of age. And then at that point, if she chose to have that experience, it was on her, you know, and she was always aware of it too. I always was very open with my daughter about that. But yeah, spiritually, a mother can protect her young up until a certain age.
Right, right. Well, how about you, Tina, in your soul regressions? Do you remember a specific case that was really dramatic for you and heartfelt? Can you
Yes.
talk about that?
One of my very dear friends, and I also won't name names, but that was definitely the most dramatic. This was during COVID, and she was not feeling well, and I just offered to do on Zoom. And immediately she started having entities leaving her body. And I was still kind of new to that at the time. You know, I'd had my training, but I'd never seen them visually leaving. Like, I didn't see them, but I could see the effects on her body as they were leaving. And that went on for 2 hours the first night. And I finally had to say, okay, we're coming back for all of you, because they wanted to go.
Right.
And so we just put a pause on it, because, you know, she was exhausted, I was exhausted. And so we came back, I think the next day or maybe 2 days later, did another. So the first one wasn't even a past life regression, it was just energy work. And then, so the next one we did was a past life regression, and we cleared a whole bunch more, and did a follow-up like 3 days, maybe 2 days later, and the last of it came. But what was coming out at that point was fairies, and really beautiful, like they were giving messages as they were leaving. And I mean, just the love that they were transmitting to me by name was beautiful. And at the end, she started channeling.
Really?
Yeah.
You kind of opened her up.
Completely changed her. Yeah, complete
up.
spiritual opening. That's the most dramatic that I've experienced in such a rapid amount of time.
Did you see changes in her physically, her emotions, the way she was dealing with it?
Yeah, and that's the exciting part to me about doing the past life regression work and the entity removal, is that entities that are attached to us affect our psyche. They affect our thoughts, they affect our emotions, and people don't realize that's what's happening. But when you take that stuff off and teach people how to keep their vibration high and to clear themselves, it changes lives.
Yes,
It absolutely changes lives.
Yeah, I've had clients where they've come to me, and then like the second or third time I see them, I don't even recognize them. Like me and my daughter were both.
They physically changed.
Yeah, they physically changed. We're like, what? The light is back on inside, like their soul light came back on. You know, upon first meeting, they might look like grayish or dim, like literally dim in the skin tone and the eyes. There's no shine, very low level soul energy. And then after they've had the clearing, and their vessel can hold more light, and then all of a sudden they're illuminated, their eyes are shiny, they're smiling. You're like, who are you?
Completely different after.
Yeah.
Everybody's
I love
like,
that.
yes,
I love that
so
so much. Well, I have never. I mean, this is the first time in my life where manifest. Is that something right there?
Oh, maybe that's an airplane.
Maybe it's an airplane.
Oh, yeah.
See, it's green.
Oh, yeah.
But
That's a big one.
I can see that
that's
one
an
with my
airplane.
eyes.
yeah, that's an airplane. That's an airplane.
We all get excited. Staying around people that are very, very, very fast right now. It's like time is changing for us. Our abilities, our spiritual abilities are amped. Done the work or are choosing the light and to be a part.
Interacting with the sun, and especially here in Sedona, this is supposed to be a portal directly to the sun, and that was stated by Nassim Haramein some years ago. But that those energies are having different effects to different people about where their status is spiritually. So if they've delved into the negative or been overwhelmed by life, that's being amplified.
Yes, and that's causing a lot of breakups, more violence, more depression, more suicide. And that's something I've always been very passionate about, trying to help people heal so that they don't go down that dark and lonely road and start to sabotage themselves and their families.
I see.
And people don't know how to sometimes reach for the light. They don't know how to shift. They're like, you talk to them about vibration, they just don't understand because they've been so programmed in the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
They've been so programmed by their culture, family, society, or whatever it is. But there are other resources that can help them actually lift their energy and vibration, like lift it into joy again and lift it into lightheartedness. And just doing that is tremendous. Doing that for one person can affect so many other people, even if they're not around them physically, just vibrationally. So
Right. So yeah, like I've been focusing on star seeds, and you were mentioning you consider yourself a star seed. So I'm trying to contribute in the awakening process that the star seeds are placed here. What do you think about that comment?
I think that's great. I think the people that have any kind of inkling that they might be a starseed should definitely feel willing to explore that. Maybe have a past life regression, get some healing work done, explore whatever your intuition is showing you, because I think the process is different for everybody, but it's incredible. I mean, like I was saying before, it just gave me a whole new lease on life, because I knew I didn't really want to be here. And I think a lot of starseeds do that. They, especially when they find out they're starseeds, they're like, oh yes, I don't belong here, I knew it. And they're just kind of dissociating all the time.
Right.
And what I have learned through my own self-healing and the process I've gone through is that we've got to get in our bodies, because that's our instrument to experience all of this, and that's what we're here to do. So when you can let go of that feeling of not belonging and realizing you're here for a purpose, and it's a very important purpose, it changes everything.
I like to bring out too that that's an actual program that the majority of humans have. I don't belong on Earth. I don't belong in my family.
Really?
Yeah, and so it's one of the things that I run into during spiritual healing sessions when I'm looking at their programming, and that I don't know if that was intentionally put into our DNA, or if it's that many starseeds are here. But it is something that's very, very, very common. And so if you think about it, that with all those feelings that you put around it, it's like just on your own, you can just say, you know what, that's just a program. It's not true. I do belong here. If you are here and right now, you're meant to be.
Yes.
And there's something that you should be doing with your life. It doesn't have to be huge, but just choosing to be happy every day changes things for everybody else on the planet. So whatever your unique thing is that makes you happy, do it.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's about, I like speaking about a quantum language of love.
Yeah.
Which is really an assemblage of what all the major religions are saying, which is basically just love each other.
Yeah.
Just be nice.
Right.
There's no other way for you to manifest a timeline that will be the most productive.
Right.
We're all one species. We have to come together in order to join the galactic family. So that may sound grandiose, but again, I'm talking to starseeds here. That, I believe, is our role, is in our own cultural context and social context, to bring the truth out,
I talk to people a lot about the love vibration, because when you start talking about love, it's almost like talking about God, and there's been so many convoluted ideas around it that people get twisted up. So if people can start thinking about love more as a vibration rather than an obligation or something they learned from their parents or something they have to do because it's a family member, love is a vibration. And, it's right around 500 in the frequency chart. And I find that most people are resonating very low in the difficult times we've been going through. 75 is grief. And then we have below that shame and guilt and, all those lower frequency emotions. I see a lot of people stuck there. When you're in depression, you're way, way, way down on the emotional frequency chart. And so if we just shoot for the energy and vibration of love at 500, that is where the magic happens. That is where you get to see more. You get to tap into your spiritual gifts. You get to have afterlife visits. You have more phenomena around you. and you can really tap into your intuition and healing abilities.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's all kind of quaint to say, but we are all one consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all entangled, and we all have a responsibility to each other. It's not so much that we're here just to fulfill our own happiness, but we're here as a group consciousness to ascend. And I believe that's, I think, us separately have probably seen indications of the Galactic Federation here.
Mm-hmm.
And it is at our doorstep when you see, the more and more sightings and phenomena that are now coming mainstream.
Roger, I'd love to hear your take on people that have had alien experiences, positive versus negative.
Mhm.
Some people, like us, we're out here tonight welcoming contact. We're inviting them with open hearts. But then there are so many out there that have suffered through traumatic experiences.
Yes.
So what do you think the difference is?
Well, this is obviously all conjecture. My focus is on the Native American peoples because they've had such a long history with the Star People, and so I find a lot of truth in there. And they seem to be approached in terms of bloodlines.
Mm-hmm.
That it. And I think this is amongst UFO people, that we may all be a result of DNA tampering
Yeah,
over thousands of years.
absolutely.
And so specifically the groups that come to mind are the Native Americans and people who have a Celtic background, like myself.
Yep, that's me.
Really? And I don't know if that goes back to the Druids.
Yeah, that's what I've always resonated with.
Yeah, well, my lineage also has Celtic in it too. So, yeah. What do you think about that?
No, I totally agree that it's bloodline, but I was thinking in terms of, what is the difference? Like if somebody were to, like, because I've been openly, well, I guess take it back. I've had some experiences that I didn't necessarily know were UFO until a little later on in my spiritual development. But initially, when they happened, like in my 20s, I was staying at my grandparents' little cabin out in the middle of the desert in Lucerne Valley, California. No neighbors whatsoever, no car lights, no people walking around out there. It was absolutely isolated and remote. And I had a lot of things happen to me. I had just had my baby. She was 4 months old, laying in bed with me. And night after night, I had experiences. I had experiences with waking up, and I guess it would have been probably a gray, 4-foot tall being standing next to my bed, staring at me, tapping me on the shoulder. I woke up and there was a tall man at the end of my bed with a hat on, like a fedora type hat.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I had the same shadow.
Really? Yeah. At the foot of my bed.
In my bathroom,
I was so scared at that time because I hadn't fully developed I hadn't been to Bosnia yet. I hadn't learned how to clear entities. I hadn't taken classes or anything yet. So the only thing I needed to do was wrap my arms around my baby and pray for Jesus' protection.
Absolutely.
Like, protect my baby in the light of Christ, I kept saying. And it disappeared. And then I woke up a couple hours later. The first time was 1 o'clock. The second time was 3 o'clock. And it was on the side of my bed, I think, to show me that it definitely was not a shadow. It was a shadow person. And I did the same thing. I wrapped my arms around the baby, prayed, and it disappeared. So, I had experiences like that, which were scary because they were coming fast and furious at me very frequently, and I didn't know what they were at the time. But I have never had an experience being taken and being, manipulated or probed or worked on. I have never had a negative connotation around UFOs and experiences. So I'm just curious, for those people that have had negative experiences, that have suffered through that, I wonder what calls to them in that, if that is a specific bloodline that they're doing that to.
Right. And Tina, we've kind of talked about it, a little bit in terms of the divine feminine and Mother Mary, because she had talked about the Bosnia and Medjugorje and all that. And I also have had personal experiences with Mary myself, but can you speak a little bit about the divine feminine and possibly Mary's role, not in a religious way, but in that aspect? What do you think?
I need to think on that just for a second. I know that, I mean, obviously the divine feminine has been maligned by religions over the past several thousand years, and so it's really important to me to see that coming back. But and I think a lot of women are doing that. They're growing. We see a lot of women doing their spiritual work, and it's a beautiful thing. I wrestled a little bit with men who need healing and are coming around to that as well, and how to incorporate that, because we can't always combine the groups for various reasons, but I do believe that men are coming around to it as well, and as that happens, we will see relationships change, and a whole different kind of healing can take place when that happens. It's really profound, and I'm kind of at a loss for words because I'm kind of experiencing that myself, and it's really mind-blowing what the healing that can happen with bringing the divine masculine and feminine together, which is really, to me, that's the goal.
The divine union.
Divine union.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we all need to do our healing work so that we are sovereign beings that can stand on our own and give and receive love, and not be, codependent and
Needy, manipulative,
all the things. Yep. But when we do our work and that happens,
but see,
we're changing the world.
Tina, you're talking exactly about what we started with, was the vibration of love.
Yes.
Right? Divine masculine, divine feminine. There's no manipulation. There's no jealousy. There's no role playing. Divine unions are two evolved people coming from a high vibration of love.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's the goal for all of us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had posed the question to my friends in the group of this whole aspect of the duality of our reality, and then through a quantum physics perspective, what is the questions and what is the healing that has to happen between the divine masculine and the divine feminine coming together is a form of meeting those divine aspects into ascending as a spirit. Because again, this is not a religious statement, but in the Bible it says there are no marriages in heaven. So we must somehow find a way to assemble ourselves in a pure form that's not necessarily masculine or feminine anymore.
Right, which makes it very confusing when people don't know their roles. And so I think it's not a blanket statement. We're definitely not in the patriarchy anymore. I think when two individuals come together, it needs to be more of a contract within that relationship, and avoid comparing to other relationships. It's those two individuals that need to determine how they want to give to that relationship and feed it, and how they want to receive love.
Right. There's so much healing work that has to be done, not only between men and women, but between cultures, between religions. Yes. We all have to find a commonality.
Yeah.
And I believe it may be in a quantum language of love. That's what I'm truly trying to
I 100% agree. And I think, so much of just in the way that we are, I think a lot of what's happening right now with the ETs and the UFO phenomena, all of this stuff, I think that, maybe they're having a hand in that. Obviously, they're part of our spiritual awakening. They're happening, these things are occurring in more numbers at the same time as a huge spiritual awakening, and spiritual attacks are happening. It's all for the good. It's all to wake people up. It's all to unite people, and we see some of that where governments are talking about it, and they're like, okay, we can finally talk about the aliens. They're here. Okay, so now it's humans. What's going on in the skies, instead of each individual race or culture,
Right.
So that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah, I've been put out there in my circles to even think about creating a new academic discipline and calling it exopsychology, what is the psychology of other civilizations. We already have to
Mhm.
start preparing ourselves for
Right.
those meetings.
Agreed.
So, so I'm so glad that we got together. I think this has been a really, really thoughtful, interesting conversation. Would you like to sum up anything else before we?
No, I think I'm super glad that we all got to do this as well. Thank you very much, Roger. Thank you, Tina. I'm really just feeling very blessed to be here tonight. And also thank you to our star friends for showing up for us tonight on camera. For feeling the love. If anybody would like to learn more about my services or work with me, you can go to my website at www.dianapalm.com.
Very good. And Tina, how would you like to close?
I just want to say thank you, Roger, for inviting me to do this.